Should you create a farm area and go farming when you're a real estate agent if you're brand new, 3, 5, 7 years in the business, or 10 or 15 years in the business? Should you farm? Is 2020, the year we're in obviously, is farming still relevant? Does it still work? Well, stay tuned and by the end of it you should get the answer. So we go obviously to my story. I've been in business 34 years. Going back to my first day, my first week in the business, I was in a very progressive office, extremely progressive. This is in the mid 80s. We even were the first office to ever have voicemail, beside the point. But most offices had farm areas. So as an agent, you could see that's my area and no other agent could go in that area. So in other words, if you were a new agent, all the areas were taken up by other agents. Well, the office I was in did not allow that. There were no protected farms, and that was extremely good for a new agent. Now, if you were experienced, the issue became if you didn't consistently go in your farm, if you didn't consistently drop materials off, if you didn't consistently market yourself in your farm area, and a new agent like me came in the office, you were going to lose business to me. So the broker, Jim Utterback, just fantastic broker at the time, said, hey, if you don't work your farm, you don't get to keep your farm. So that was the very first experience of me in an environment in real estate for the first time and what farming was. So luckily, I was in an office that did not have protected farms. So as a brand new agent, I was super intimidated by high-priced housing. And high-priced housing in the mid-80s in the area I sold in was over $200,000. That was high-priced housing. In fact, the houses I sold a lot of the time were $60,000, $70,000, $80,000. Now, yeah, I wish we could all go back and buy 10 of them, beside the point. So I picked a farm area that I wanted to farm, which was the lowest price housing in the city. I sold real estate in Long Beach, California, and so I went up to North Long Beach, which was a little bit on the edge of the hood, but I felt much more comfortable being there and selling in that price range. So that's how I picked my very first farm area. I think Tracy said this, but don't quote me on it. For success, you have to pay full price and you have to pay in advance. I thought that was pretty prophetic for the time that I heard it. He said there's no half off sales on success. There's no try now and pay later. There's no discounts. For success, you have to pay full price and you have to pay in advance. And that was applied to the farm area. That was applied to this process. If you did not understand that, you would be quite upset quite quickly. So what are some of the mistakes that I've seen as a coach and as a mentor to a lot of agents that I've seen when they start to farm? Number one, quitting too early. They just don't give it a long enough shot. They get discouraged early and they quit. And early might mean a day, a week, a month, or even a year, but they quit before they have an opportunity to see that result. Next one was not understanding the demographic. Who are the people living in your farm? Are they blue collar? Are they white collar? Are they younger? Are they older? What is that demographic? Because as an agent, you have to understand that before you can market to those people. So that was the next big mistake I see agents make all the time. Next one is the agent will pick an area with extremely low turnover. So there might only be 1 or 2 houses per month selling, and there might be 10 agents or 5 agents marketing that area. That could be, not necessarily, but that could be a mistake. Low turnover, not enough houses selling. So too many agents in the area trying to find sellers and not enough houses selling to allow all those agents to at least make a decent living. There's an old saying Mike Ferry used to have, actually, another great trainer and mentor of mine. He said there are more nuts than there are squirrels to collect them. Well, that works fine, but when there's less nuts, less sales, and too many squirrels, you have a problem. So to go hand in hand with low turnover is too many agents. Way too many agents marketing in the same area. So this one can go either way a little bit, because if you're really good and really aggressive, you'll put some of those agents out of business that are at the bottom. But you've got to be careful that you don't go into an area that is really controlled by a group that have been entrenched in there for a long time, and that's going to take a lot of effort to push them out of the way. Next one's simple. You're lazy. You're not willing to do the work. Sorry. If you're not willing to do the work, well, you know what, go find another job right now and stop watching. No plan. You've got to have a plan. Especially, and when I'm talking about this, one of the things you have to do is understand seasons, understand the different times of year when you plan your marketing within your farm. But the key word is plan. You've got to plan it out. Now you can wing it for the first day, the first week, the first month, but if you decide that's the area you want, you've got to have a long-term plan for that area that extends for a few years. And the last error that I see agents make all the time is they quit way too early, or they don't know when to quit. Think about that for a second. So they don't see results and they go, oh, it's not working, I'm quitting after 6 months. Or they've been at it 2 years and still haven't seen any results. So you have to know at that point that if it isn't working, you can't keep doing the same stuff that isn't working. You've got to make adjustments. If you don't make adjustments and you go 6 more months and still not working, shame on you. In the year 2020, is farming still the same as when I got in the business in 1986? And the answer is yes and no. There's parts of it that really haven't changed and don't need to change, and then there's lots of things that have changed, mainly the social media and the electronic aspect of it. But do not lose sight of the basics because they still work really well. So that's the end of part 1 of farming. This topic's going to take a little bit longer because there's a lot to cover. So hit the bell to be reminded of the next video. Like, subscribe, make a comment if you'd like to. This actually, this whole series on farming came from a newer agent making a comment saying they wanted some information on farming and has it changed over the decades? The answer is yes, as you've just listened to, but make sure you tune in for part 2 later in the week.